And so finally, why make disciples? Jesus, in his commission, demands it. People need it. The church is built by it. And finally, we are made Christ-like by it. We are made Christ-like by it. Go to 1 John 2:6. And this isn't the only place, but any place that says that we ought to be like Jesus. Amen? My brothers and sisters, whoever says that passage, 1 John 2:6, whoever says he abides, that is, he's saved and he walks with Jesus, whoever says he abides in him ought to walk in the same way in which he walked. Amen? I believe it's Luke 6:40 that says the disciple, amen, when he's full grown, will be like his discipler. He'll be like his teacher. My brothers and sisters, very clearly, we ought to be like Jesus. And so we become more like Jesus as we do what Jesus did. And that's our goal, right? All we want is to be more and more like Jesus. That's certainly his goal for us based on Romans 8:29. And there are at least three things Jesus did in making disciples that we need to do. Now surely there are more things that we can do than these three, and certainly the things that we learned through David Geisler in our Wednesday night Bible study a while back, and other things that have been taught, surely those are included. But I want to talk about these three things that they are lifestyle adjustments we can make that get us further down the road to being like Jesus in disciple making. All right, the first one is live in the moment. My brothers and sisters, we need to develop Jesus' ability to stay present to what is happening around us. I mean, that's how Jesus was. He was always in the present. Look, this helped make Jesus a disciple maker. Listen, Jesus was not in a rush to get to the next meeting. He wasn't pushed to get to the next event. Jesus wasn't shy, nervous, or self-absorbed, but he was always aware. He noticed, think about this, he noticed the circumstances of the people around him and was present for them. That's what's happening in Luke chapter 7. The Lord was aware of the crowd passing by with the woman whose son had just died in the city of Nain. And you know that story. He raised that young man from the dead. Amen? And the Lord noticed Zacchaeus up in the sycamore tree in Luke 19. He noticed, he engaged, and he discipled. My brothers and sisters, the first thing is to stay present in the moment. Second, Jesus was always ready to make disciples. My brothers and sisters, for the Master, disciple making wasn't something he compartmentalized or did at a specific time. He was always ready. I mean, it happened as part of his daily life. Matthew 9 through 13 tells of how Jesus called Matthew, the man who eventually wrote this book, the book of Matthew. It says he was just walking along, Jesus. He was just headed to another place in his hometown after he healed the paralytic. Imagine with me, Jesus is maybe strolling along thinking about where he's going. Or maybe he's strolling along as he's going, just thinking about what a beautiful day it is. Or maybe he's thinking about the hard-heartedness of the scribes he had just encountered when he was healing the paralytic. As he passes by, he sees the tax office. He notices Matthew, whom he'd probably spoken to before. And just sensing the time is right, let me go say something to Matthew. He says, hey, come and follow me. And my brothers and sisters, that day, that moment, another disciple was made. It's not like Jesus was in disciple-making mode, or this was his outreach time. No, he was simply walking along in his village. My brothers and sisters, the question is, how ready are we to make disciples at any time? At least to begin the process. To notice people we come across and to call them to come and follow Jesus. So that's the second one. The third one is Jesus taught through real life stories and situations. My brothers and sisters, as we read through the Gospels, we see that Jesus constantly responded to the things in his world. I mean, you know, a storm comes up. Hey, it's a chance to show God's power over the wind and the waves. There's a food shortage. Good time to show everyone that God is more than able to provide for their physical as well as their spiritual needs. Walking past a fruitless tree, it's a great time to teach a lesson about what God does with our lives when they are not producing the fruit he desires. So we have to see, we all need Jesus' mindset as a disciple maker. We need to develop the skill to turn real life situations into opportunities to train the people around us in the ways and nature of God. Listen, we may not work the miracles that Jesus worked, but we can see the situations around us and tie them in to what we know in the Bible and help people to see Jesus at work. Brothers and sisters, that's what Jesus did. And we all want to be like Jesus. Isn't that right?